Yeah, I smoke blunts, I won't even front. Oh, you see my girl? Yeah, she got a dunk. I ain't a soldier boy, don't have no time for toys. The last time I played games, I was playing back in Roy. Wilson Parks and Queens, away from dope fiends. I don't wear no bling, but they're ready crown me king. Thorough Hollywood, yeah, I'm doing good. You know you should be watching, cause you know you really should.
And we're back to Mackin with Miles. This weekend, we just got the deluxe edition of The Gift that came out with the visual album that is called Black is King. I didn't have a chance to see it yet, not because I don't want to, but mostly because I don't have Disney Plus right now. I spent too much money on streaming platforms this month. I was just like, this will be the only thing I watch on Disney Plus if I get this right now. So I was like, let me wait till the Mandalorian or something come on, then I'll watch it then. I feel crazy about it though, because every time Beyonce drops a visual album, I see it the day it drops. When Beyonce, the visual album came out, I saw it. Lemonade, saw it. So this is the first time I didn't see it the day that it dropped, and I'm kind of feeling crazy about it. But like I said, I got too many streaming services on right now. I got Peacock, I got Shudder, Quibi, HBO Max, Stars. And I only got Stars because I thought Power, the spinoff, Ghost would start this month, but they pushed it back to September, so that was a waste. And I shouldn't have got me CBS All Access because now they with Viacom, and I told myself I'm not supporting Viacom no more since they violated my man Nick Cannon. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I got CBS All Access right now. They got Chappelle Show and stuff up on there, and I've been trying to catch up with all this Star Trek stuff. Trying to get my geek on. But it is what it is. I will see it soon, though. It looks lovely. I've seen footage. The only video I've seen so far from the visual album is the song we just heard, Mood Forever, and it looks amazing. The crazy thing about people give Beyonce a lot of flack here and there or whatever. They try to find her flaws. Man, I just want to appreciate the visuals that we're getting from this visual album. Like, I would love to see Beyonce direct something that's not a visual album or a music video. I would love to see what she would do with a full-length a full-length musical, like a whole narrative, 90 minutes straight or 2 hours, and it's, not music videos, but a full-length musical or, a full-length movie. I'm curious to see Beyonce's eye as a director. I'm appreciating the work that she's putting out, and I would love to see more of it. Matter of fact, why isn't she directing Coming to America 2? She should have been the one directing Coming to America 2, seeing all this. Matter of fact, I need to just give her Black Panther to direct, because I'm getting Wakanda vibes from this, y'all. I'm getting Wakanda vibes, And now, while we're still on the subject of Black excellence, one of the streaming platforms I do have that's on right now is Netflix, but that's mostly because, I got T-Mobile pays for it. But, technically I pay for it because this is my bill. What I was getting ready to say, all the classic shows, because Netflix got the whole strong Black lead thing, so they were like, hey, Black folks, we hear you, we paying attention. So, they giving us Moesha, which dropped on August 1st. The Game, I think it's from season 1 to season 3, will be starting August 15th. Sister, September 1st, and I'm tight because I'm like, damn, I gotta wait till September for Sister. All right, I do need to keep the end of the summer productive, so fine, I'll wait till September. Girlfriend, September 11th, The Parkers, October 1st, Half and Half, October 15th, and One-on-One, October 15th. I'm excited for a lot of these shows, because for a long time, I'm like, yo, where are all these Black sitcoms that we grew up with? There were so many great Black shows from like the late 90s to the early 2000s, and then somewhere after like Eve and I want to say the Flavor Flav show, somewhere after them, and I'm not talking about Flavor of Love, I'm talking about the Flavor Flav sitcom that used to be on UPN. Somewhere after all of that, the Black show just disappeared. They was like, yeah, Black folks had it. Yeah, y'all should be happy with what you got. We got reruns of Steve Harvey playing. You should be happy. And we haven't had great Black sitcoms until maybe, Blackish? And that's not a traditional Black sitcom. It's a good show. I haven't caught up to the recent seasons, but, I enjoyed the first season or so, But thank God for Netflix that they're doing this, because for a long time, I've been looking at all these Black platforms. I'm like, you guys are not, what happened? Y'all can't get the rights to this stuff? You can't afford the rights? What is it? Who do I gotta call? Who do I gotta pay for have these shows on the platform? So thank God for Netflix for putting on the platform now. Now, Netflix don't own the rights to these shows. So eventually, these shows will disappear once more, and then we gotta figure out, all right, what app is it going to next? Will it go to HBO Max? Will it go to Peacock? But until we get there, I guess we get to enjoy it for while we can on Netflix. We don't have the same show. Like, Black culture to me is not the same like I grew up with. Now it just feels so manufactured. It just feels like it's all about controversy to make sales, especially since music ain't really based about, selling stuff. Well, now music is all about marketing. Music is now a marketing tool. It's not really the thing to use to, to make the money now. Now it's all about the live shows, the merchandising, maybe getting your music played in commercials and TV shows and movies. It's not, people aren't making millions of music anymore. That's just not happening anymore, And it's sad because, it's just like now you got to rely on controversy to, even be in the media, like Kanye West. It's like every few days I'll go on social media and it's just like, oh boy, what is Kanye doing today? Like, I love Kanye, y'all know me. There's just so much going on with this man. There's so much going on. The other day I'm going through social media and then I'm finding pictures of him and his wife arguing. She's crying in the car. And, Kim has been posting online like, oh, Kanye's been mentally ill. He's not feeling great right now and da-da-da-da-da. And, I like Kanye talks and he be sounding crazy, but sometimes I feel like I understand the point he's coming from. He's just not describing it or, detailing or saying anything right. Like when he made the comments about Harriet Tubman didn't free slaves, I kind of understood what he meant. What I was hoping he meant was the fact that, she did what she can to get them off the plantation, but America still has slavery enforced in other ways. That's what I'm thinking he meant to say, but the man was all emotions and everything like that. And, and when Kanye said, we all know that Get Out's about me, I feel like there's some truth to that. You know what I mean? Like, some part of me don't believe Kanye is mentally ill. Maybe he is exposing people. Maybe he is exposing the Kardashians, like he brought up recently when Michael Jackson brought up the CEO of Sony Music and how he was a white supremacist and how he was doing Mariah Carey dirty and everything like that. That happened. And, Kanye brought it up, and people were like, oh, my God, where is that even coming from? Like, bro, there's a legit video of Michael Jackson saying this on stage. This is around when he was dropping his Invincible album. And some people were like, oh, he was only saying that because Sony wasn't giving him any marketing dollars to promote the album. And I don't know, Tony Matala. We never crossed paths, not that I know of. But, I'm just going to go with Michael's word here about what, Kanye also went about how Kim cheated on him last year with Meek Mills. I don't know if that's the truth or not. I do know a picture showed up on TMZ with Kim, Meek, and somebody else at dinner, and they're like, "See, Kanye, that's not cheating." And I'm like, since when does TMZ tries to uphold people's relationships and try to prove to the significant other that the significant other isn't cheating? I'm like, Did Kim pay TMZ to post this picture? Like, where the hell did this picture come from? How did it take a year for this picture to show up? Anyways, I don't care. The thing is, and y'all remember that, what was it, a year ago before that, when Kanye was talking about Drake was messing around with Kim, and everybody was like, oh, this is the song where Drake was explaining how he did it, and he was talking smash, and da-da-da-da, and then, Kanye was also talking about how, Drake be like grooming women, underage women and everything like that. And, like the star of Stranger Things and everything. And I'm sitting here like, Kanye is not lying about these things. Like this information is out there where this is true information. Not all of it. I can't say anything. I don't know anything about the whole Kim and Drake and Meek. But, the story about Bobby Brown, is that her name Bobby Brown? I think that's her name her name is Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. And Drake, that's not hidden information. There's, whole articles written on this stuff. You know what I mean? And, we all know that Kris Jenner, was supportive of Kim when it was time for her to do a sex tape to try to help build her celebrity status, and how she was giving her the push to be on Playboy. So of course Kanye would be like, you're not going to do to my daughter what you did with your daughter, and I can understand that. So when people are saying that, that Kanye feels that Kim is grooming their daughter North to do the exact same thing that made Kim famous, I can see why. I can see why they want to say Kanye is crazy. I kind of see why they're saying, "Oh, he's mentally ill. Don't listen to this man." Because if we listen to this man, then we start paying attention to the things that they don't want us to pay attention to. Like, I get it. I really, really do. Now, I don't know if Kanye really is mentally ill or not. I don't know if he's off his meds. Because they say, every time he got an album coming out, that's when he gets off his meds. Because it's hard to be creative when you're on these meds. But some of this stuff this feels like common sense, Like, I get it why he was crying at that rally. He was talking about there was a chance that he was going to kill his kid through abortion. That's something to get emotional about, And shout out to Dave Chappelle for coming all the way out there to check on Kanye because, like Dave Chappelle once said, we gotta stop calling these celebrities crazy. We gotta stop saying people in Hollywood are crazy. Maybe their environment is sick. Maybe there's something going on around their environment that's making them seem so crazy. And, Kanye tweeted this recently, and I thought this was like something we should pay attention to. He like, there's the tactics of 4 Ds: distract, discredit, dismiss, and destroy. And I gotta say, I feel like that may be what's happening with Kanye. Now, granted, he went ahead and apologized to his wife, Kim Kardashian, on Twitter, talking about, I apologize to my wife, Kim, for going public with something that was a private matter, when he was thinking about divorcing Kim Kardashian a year before. But here's the thing. What if, this was a get-out situation, and the only way Kanye can try to break free is to let the world know what he's trying to do. Like fuck being private. They're trying to kill me, y'all. It's the movie Get Out for real. Like, who are we supposed to believe? People are like, oh, we can't blame the Kardashians. You always want to blame a woman for what a black man does. All right, granted, fine, that does happen. But if we're looking at the history of this family and what happens to the men when they get around this family, I'm just saying, this is not a gossip show, but I'm just saying. So, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, contrary to belief, what you see outside, and people all on social media going to pool parties and going out to eat and having drinks. And we're still in a pandemic, y'all. It's not over. But, people still want to live their best life. Living my best life. So, I'm not going to go back and forth with these niggas. So, I'm just going to sit here and try to figure out how to keep you guys healthy, while I keep myself healthy. Because, we got family to think of and, the world to think of. So, here are the best 8 times to drink water during your day. Now, when you're feeling tired any time of the day, it's best to drink water because it helps recharge your system. All this sugar we have, especially, you gotta think about it. We just so much sugar in the American diet. Like this corn syrup and everything. Even just our breakfast. Like some countries don't even have we have literal dessert for breakfast here in this country. Literal dessert. So, our blood sugar goes up and down, and, we get that sugar high very early, and then we crash. So a little bit of water does help recharge your system. It's also good to drink water after you wake up because it activates your internal organs. Your body, when you wake up in the morning, your body just feels like it's just not ready yet. Like everything is starting to catch up with you, and it takes a minute before it gets there. So, it's good to have some water as soon as you wake up to activate those internal organs. After you work out, it helps bring the heart rate back to normal. Also, it's really good to take a shower before you take it. I said before you take a shower, but before before you take a shower, you should drink water. That's what I was trying to say. Because it helps lower blood pressure. Believe it or not. A half hour before a meal, drink some water because it helps with digestion. Before you go to bed, it will help replenish any fluid loss. Especially if you're feeling sick, you gotta drink water. You really gotta drink water if you think you're feeling sick because water hydrates body for proper function, And if you're surrounded by infected or sick people, drinking water don't let infections settle in the body, And, I get it. Water is not like great. It's very bland tasting stuff. You got soda, juices, this and that, but water is really good for you. It's best to have water in your system because, our body is mostly water. So it's like the less water we have is the less our body's functioning properly. So you want to be healthy, those are the 8 best times to drink water. After you wake up, after a workout, half an hour before a meal, before taking a bath, before going to bed, when you're feeling sick, when you're feeling tired, and if you're surrounded by sick people. Those are the times to drink water. And you're supposed to drink water 8 times a day. So, I just gave you 8 different moments where you feel like you should be drinking water. It's an interesting time in America. We watching protests here and there. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to social media because all the protest action is on social media. The revolution will not be televised. Gil was not lying when he said that. He was not lying. They stopped putting this stuff on the news like 2 months ago. this stuff is still going on a daily. The protest has not stopped. I've seen footage of people who were by themselves protesting, and this one guy, right, was a white guy, he went to a small town, a small racist town, and he just stood there with the Black Lives Matter sign. And, you guys know how I feel about Black Lives Matter. I support the phrase. I don't know much about that organization, but I support the phrase because the phrase was true yesterday, it's true today, and will be true tomorrow. Black Lives Matter, Now, what's going on with that organization, where they're doing all that money, I don't know nothing about. So I'm not going to sit here and vouch for the organization and say, yeah, guys, we all should donate money towards them. You make up your own mind where you guys want to donate your money. But, with all these protesting going on, police still brutalizing people, and now this, unmarked vans is pulling up and grabbing people and throwing them in and driving off. It's a weird time right now, and I question the people in government sometimes because, they won't ban certain things. They won't get rid of the KKK, but Black Lives Matter is the problem, They won't get rid of crooked police. They won't arrest the guys who killed Breonna Taylor, but TikTok can be banned. Now, I get what the problem is with TikTok. What my big issue with TikTok, what made me stop posting stuff on TikTok was when I saw that they were like censoring people who made posts under Black Lives Matter, and I was like, oh, I can't support that, But the argument people are making now is like, oh, they're taking your information and they're sharing it with China, and I'm looking at it like this was the same argument they had with the face app when that everybody was making their face old. It was like the old challenge or whatever. That's what helped me create the whole identity of Old Man Miles, my character. It's just majority of the apps we use are taking data. It's not just China. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's the reason to keep using these apps or anything like that. I'm just saying if we're going to use that argument, we should really pay attention to all the apps that's collecting data, even the basic ones, even regular old Google and YouTube. You don't think they're collecting data off of that? When you go on the internet, all the cookies that is keeping on. You think randomly that you show up on the internet and these ads pop up for stuff you already been thinking about buying? You think that's a coincidence? No, they've been collecting data. They can kind of figure out what's going to be your next move, what's going to be your next purchase. So everybody collecting data so they can basically have a digital version of you and figure out, all right, this is what we got to do to maintain this digital version of the actual human being. And we're really early into this type of life. Granted, we grew up some of us grew up in the world of MySpace, and there's definitely a whole bunch of people that was born before that era of social media. So this collecting data is still very brand new, and we can't let our guards down with just accepting like, all right, this is the future. Everybody using apps now. We should pay attention to how our data is being collected. I know a lot of people, even myself at one point was thinking, why does it matter if they're collecting data? Because, probably supposed to help me in the long run. I'm also a conspiracy theorist to a T. I remember watching Minority Report, and I was just like, damn, if they have your information, they know what you like, what you do. You literally can't do nothing you've ever done before. You have to live a whole new life, being a whole new person, can't listen to the same music you listen to no more, can't eat the same stuff you eat no more, can't visit the same place you visit no more. You will literally have to be someone new completely from that moment on. Your whole life will have to be gone. And if you're somewhere where they have your favorite stuff, you have to walk the opposite direction because it's, their data is out there that shows so-and-so loves this, so-and-so loves to eat this, so-and-so loves to dress this clothes, so all this data collection, it can definitely bite us in the long run, I do believe. And, with all this facial recognition software that they're putting out there now, apparently it's working. They was able to grab that girl up and throw her in a van based off footage from another security camera. Cause apparently she spray paint a camera or something. So they were just like, all right, we're going to find her. And they found her and they grabbed her. So if y'all don't want to be grabbed and thrown into an unmarked van, you might want to be more cautious about your data and also your face on camera, I guess. That's where we're getting. That is where we're getting. Like I said, guys, I want to keep talking about health, keep you guys in shape, keep you guys, moving forward, because, we got to be healthy out here. And one thing I've noticed a difference since I've been paying attention to my diet, I started paying attention to food that creates mucus, because mucus really do make us sick. And I realized when I started focusing on stuff that detox mucus, how much less mucus I had. When I started cutting back on butter, bread, gluten, fried foods, dairy products, fast food, GMO food, sugar, pesticide. That's when I had the most mucus, like nonstop mucus. And it's recently when I've been cutting back on those things, and I didn't really notice it until I recently got me a hamburger, and as the mucus started coming back, I was like, oh, let me go back to what I was doing. When I had to start taking, more seeded melons, more key limes, mangoes, onions, the purple onions to be specific, leafy greens, oranges, ginger, walnuts. That's when I realized how my body started improving, So, if you're not the person who's the type to eat a lot of fruits and veggies, definitely try to drink it. That's how I got myself into this. I started getting myself a lot more cold pressed juices. I try to stop going for like Pepsi or Cokes or Arizonas and stuff like that. Like if I get myself a Coca-Cola, it's a treat. And I may not even finish the whole bottle. I may save it for the rest of the week. Like I'll just have that, I'll have a few sips on Monday, then I'll probably have the rest of the sip on Friday. Like it's a treat. That's not a daily beverage anymore in 2 months. And I think that's where we have to start looking at things. Like we have to, make small changes in our daily behaviors to, make the whole body, rejuvenate itself and become something better. We can't keep killing ourselves like this. Anywho, I saw a very interesting documentary this week called Inmate Number 1, which is about Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo, you may have seen in films like Desperado, Con Air, Heat, or one of my favorite Robert Rodriguez movies, Machete. And I was just truly amazed with this man's story. He really had the real underdog story, and I saw the trailer for this documentary through Facebook ads, but I was in no rush to get it. It wasn't only until I heard an interview with Danny Trejo with Nick Cannon on Nick Cannon's Cannon Class. I listen to Nick Cannon's podcast, and recently Nick Cannon's podcast literally just disappeared overnight. All his stuff just disappeared. So I've been paying attention to see, if he's gonna put back any of the episodes that I wanted to listen to that I didn't listen to. And randomly, the Danny Trejo episode came up, and I was like, oh, cool. Let me listen to this episode and listen to this man talk about his life. His experience. I was just in awe. Like, Danny doesn't come off as one of those Hollywood actors that look tough. He is the real deal. But man, when you hear his story, like, this man is the real deal. Like, he been through it. He's seen it. Like, this guy is not the traditional Hollywood. The fact that he's even where he is today is a miracle. It's just amazing. And I always think about this a lot, because those people in the worst situations that have the hardest time to make, to realize the opportunity that come their way or the way that they can do good for other people and make differences in their lives. And, it's amazing because Danny Trejo, like when I look, I'm telling you, he was in the rough part of the city. This man was doing heroin at like 12 years old. I'm telling you, if you're doing any type of drug, if you're doing heroin at 12, bruh, that's some heavy shit right there. That's heavy. And he went to he of course he went to jail. He committed crimes. There was a chance that he could have got the death penalty for almost killing a CEO, correction officer, but he got lucky enough that I won't even say lucky, blessed, because he prayed before this and God was listening. And basically, he basically like, I'll praise your name every day if you get me out of the situation. And the man just could not remember who threw a rock at him. That would have been an assault on a CEO. And this man got himself in rehab, became a drug counselor for years before he even got on camera, and he only got on camera because one of the person that he was trying to help, who was about to relapse, was on a film set. And then while he was on that film set, they were like, hey, you want to be an extra? And then, fast forward a couple decades later, here we are. And, Danny is an action superstar in his own right. You know what I mean? So definitely check out Inmate Number 1, because I feel like that was just very, very important to me to see, because a lot of times people use, their past or their current environment as an excuse not to try to get their lives better. And I feel like this documentary was, it's a good example of, it's never too late to change. It's never too late. Before we go, I do want to talk about, putting some money in our pockets, because things are about to get crazy. You know what I mean? They just cut the unemployment from $600 to down to the regular $400, I think it was. I spoke to a couple, entrepreneurs who have employees, and let me tell y'all something now. everybody who's trying to get over on the unemployment, and these people are offering you work, they can see you applying for unemployment. It comes out of their pockets. And if you think they're not telling the unemployment office that they're offering you work and you're denying it, I'm telling you, they're coming back for that money. Just know they're coming back for that money. So, people, I want you guys to, use your mindset differently. Because a lot of times I see a lot of people over here, they literally just basically frauding the system. These people are out here that's collecting unemployment checks. There's people out here who's collecting, business loans, and they're spending it on everything else but where it needs to go. It's not going to rent. It's not going to food. It's not going to helping their employees or paying for their employees' unemployment. It's going all the wrong places. So I need you guys to change your money mindset. And once you figure out, your money mindset, I want you to start paying attention to investing into stocks. Doing some group real estate, getting some friends together, and let's go half on a building. Let's all four of us go on half on a building. Well, it would be half because it would be four of you. You know what I mean? You can focus on starting a biz. Focus on skills and education. You guys know me. I'm always buying new courses and books. Those are super important to me. Actually accumulating, money for your life insurance. You focus on your mental health, your physical health. And people always say oh, it's so hard to even, be an entrepreneur with no money. But I'm like, I don't know about that, because there's people out here with sponsorship on Instagram. They're selling ad space on their blog, and you can make a blog about anything. As long as you got a niche, travel, food, this, that, people will follow. Do drop shipping, do affiliate marketing, sell ebooks and courses, have a YouTube page. And now, granted, you do need a certain amount of followers to get paid off of YouTube. But, every 1,000 views is like $7. So, you got 10,000 views, that's $70. 100,000 views, that's $700. You get any higher than that, it just keeps going. It's going and going and going, Because the average CPM on YouTube is $7. But, all you, to make $10,000 a month, you literally just need to make $333 a day. Now, some people are like, oh, that's all I have to do is make $333 a day. That sounds like nothing. It does require work. But, if social media provides us with unlimited range of opportunities, you could, like I said, affiliate marketing, digital products, make your own e-commerce store, IG shout-outs, creating a marketing agency, creating content for other people, freelancing. There's ways out here to make $1, like the ebooks, right? Let's say you made an ebook. It's like you just sell it for $20. If you make 5 sales a day for a $20 ebook, that's $3,000 a month. Now make 15 sales a day, that's $100K a year. It's simpler than you think. The only problem is none of us are taking action. So take action, and don't think about just you, but also think about your kids, set the foundation right for them, helping them understand what life insurance is, stock investing, asset accumulation, teach them how to build a business, teach them about trust funds or wills, saving with the 3-jar system, teaching them about ownership, good credit, teaching them about how money works, because those are things they're going to need more in the future, teaching them about real estate, credit, getting an LLC, taxes, even self-love. I feel like we don't even talk enough about when it comes to teaching the future. These are the things that we got to focus on, guys. Well, that was this episode of Mackin with Miles. I hope you guys learned a thing or two. I'll see you guys in the same place, same time next week. Much love. God bless. 2 pieces and chicken grease. I'll see you later.